Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share a couple of personal stories with you. Yesterday I got off the phone with someone that I love very much, and I got a shock. I was in shock. But before we get to that, let me go ahead and tell you about the first one. And I think I've mentioned it before. But anyways, the message here, ladies and gentlemen, all right, for those that want to know what the message is, and then click off if you want to click off. But I would recommend that you stay, because I hope that a lot of people see this video, especially those people that maybe fall into the category that I'm going to talk about. Don't be too proud to ask for help. We are going through a very difficult time right now in our country, and whatever country you're in. Don't ever be too proud to ask for help, because it can cost you everything that you worked for. And I'm going to give you a very good example. My neighbor, who's been my neighbor here right next door to me, he's been my neighbor here for about the last 4 years, I would say. Really good guy. He is a builder by trade. He's a carpenter. And that's what he's done his whole life. And he's actually helped me. He helped me put the roof up on the bunker. And he also helped me put the roof on top of my little deck in front of the bumper. He helped me do that stuff, because I don't like heights. Yeah, I know. I used to be a paratrooper, but I don't like heights. Right? So really good guy. And during the summer, whenever I needed help with something, I call him and say, "Hey, can I hire you out for a day to do this and that?" He's never said no, and he's always done a great job. Really good guy. But anyways, he purchased the land that's right next to my property about 4 years ago or so, and he purchased it from the state, and he started building a house there, out of pocket. And like I said, he's a builder by trade, so his house, he was doing a really great job, and his house was pretty much dried in. It was still naked outside, meaning that it didn't have any siding, but it was completely dried in, meaning that it had a working roof, it had windows, doors, all that kind of stuff, and it had the Tyvek wrapping around the house, but not the siding yet. Well, to make a long story short, here earlier this year, I found out that he had lost his property to the state, because when he bought the property, he bought it from the state of Alaska, just like I did. And when you buy it from the state of Alaska, you make a very small monthly payment. It's really not a lot at all. And he fell behind on his payments because he fell on hard times. Well, I didn't know anything about this, and he never told me anything. And I find out that the state took back his land, and they gave him 60 days. Because I don't know how far behind he was. He must have been at least 3 months behind or more on his land payments, because I think that's when it's triggered. So the state took back his land. And on top of that, he literally had to dismantle the house that he built. I would say that his house was about 60% done. It had heating, it had electricity, it had all that stuff. It just needed the interior walls and all that kind of stuff, that you finish up inside. He literally had to dismantle it and actually get it off his property, because when the state resumes ownership of the property, it has to be back to a natural state, meaning no structures or anything. He even had to take out the electric pole that he installed on there. And when I found this out, I went and talked to him. And I even called the state and said, "Is there anything that we can do? If I pay you right now every single penny that he owes, and bring it up to date, and even pay the next 3 months, ahead of time, is there any way that he can keep his house?" And they're like, "No, it's too late. Once we've subpoenaed a person that's behind on their land payments, it's too late. It has to go through the court system and all of that mumbo jumbo that I have to go through." So, when I talked to him, I was like, "Why didn't you ask for help, brother?" I was like, "Why didn't you come and ask me for help?" And you know what he told me? And I can understand this. I really can. I can understand where he's coming from. He said, "How's it going to look for a man to go ask for help?" I'm like, yeah, but look at what it cost you. I would have helped you, and I wouldn't have even given you the money. I wouldn't have even loaned you the money. I would have just said, here's an advance on whatever kind of work you're going to do for me next year, because we already have plans on him helping us do some remodeling inside of the house next year. We're trying to move our kitchen over to a bigger space. But I digress on that. So anyways, we had plans on him coming over this next year in 2023, probably after the snow melts, so that he can come and start helping us with that. And I said, I would have just given you an advance and you would have been able to, and he's like, well, it's too late now. Now, I'm not saying that I can help everyone, but what I'm saying is this, is that if you need help, first start with family. Don't be too proud to let everything that you've worked for be taken from you just because you're a man, or just because it's all about pride. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, we have to swallow our pride in order to be able to live on, to go on, to be able to resume our life, instead of having it turned upside down in an instance like this that I just explained to you all. So I feel very bad for him that happened, because it broke my heart. Seeing him take apart his house. He actually had some people come over with real heavy equipment where they literally pretty much cut his house in half and took it with a huge tractor. This thing was huge. But anyways, it just broke my heart seeing that. So don't be too proud, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, especially if you have kids. I would say that much. Now, the second story that I want to talk to you about is, and the only reason I'm talking to you about this is for sure to make sure that you understand what the message is. But also because I know that my brother won't be watching this video. He's too busy to watch my videos. All right. So he works like 7 days a week. So I have a brother, and he lives here in the States. I have 3 brothers altogether. And this brother of mine lives here in the States. So I gave him a call yesterday. He's always working. This guy works like 7 days a week, literally, to support his family. And every once in a while I get lucky when I call him that he's on a break, and I get to talk to him. So I called him yesterday just to see how everything was going, and to wish him a Merry Christmas, and to tell him that I was sending him a small gift and to expect it, in the mail. And we get to talking, we probably talk for about 45 minutes to an hour, which is awesome because I don't get to talk to him that often. But as we're talking, I asked him how his wife is doing. His wife is my sister-in-law, the one that, has been battling cancer for a while. And I talk to her quite often. I probably talk to her on average every other week or so, just to see how she's doing. But when you talk to someone and you ask them, hey, how you doing? They're always like, oh yeah, I'm doing okay. So every once in a while I like to hear from him, right? Because he's not her, and he can tell me, hey, she's doing better. She's not like the last time I talked to him, which was probably about more than a month and a half, 2 months ago. He's like, oh no, she's not doing that great. She's lost a lot of weight and this and that. But this time around, he's like, yeah, she's gained weight. Because I know I'm going off topic, right, ladies and gentlemen, but we're just talking here, right? It's one of the things that I really like to do is talk with you. And I remember talking to my sister-in-law here a while back, probably a couple of months ago, in one of our conversations. And I was like, well, how's your weight and everything like that? And she's like, well, I weigh like 97 pounds. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, what do you eat? And she's like, well, I don't really eat that much. I'm not really hungry. And with the chemotherapy, I often just feel nauseous. I'm like, listen, I said, you have to eat. I said, I don't care what you eat. By the way, I've sent her a whole bunch of Nutrient Survival, and her favorite is the coffee and the apple oatmeal, right? The apple oatmeal. Apple cinnamon oatmeal. That's her favorite. So I always send her that stuff when she's running out to make sure that she's getting at least some nutrition. And I told her, I was like, you have to eat. I was like, you go eat junk food. Go eat McDonald's. Go eat whatever has a whole bunch of calories. You like ice cream? Eat ice cream. I said, eat every hour on the hour, even if it's a little bit. You need to put on some weight, because how's your body supposed to fight this if you're losing weight and becoming weaker and weaker? And when I talked to my brother, he told me that she gained like 10 pounds. So I was like, yes, I hope that's what she's doing. She needs to eat, get some weight on, so that your body can be strong. But anyways, I digress, ladies and gentlemen. So anyways, I'm talking to my brother, and And, you know, I asked him, hey, how's everything going, man? How you doing? You know, because I know he works a lot. And he's like, well, things are a little bit tough. He was telling me how inflation is just ravaging the food over there where he lives. Right? He lives in Ohio. He lives in Ohio. He says inflation over there is ridiculous. He said that he used to pay like 89 cents for a dozen eggs, and now it's $4 and change. And he said it's like that with a lot of the foods, the basic foods that they eat, because by no means do they live fancy. And then he told me something that shocked me. And this really shocked me. And it almost made me feel kind of guilty, to tell you the truth. He told me that they had resorted to going to a food bank. And I was in awe. I was like, what? You know, and inside, and he's like, yeah, but you know, everything's going to be all right. You know, he's staying positive. He's like, yeah, we have some food, but, you know, times have been getting tough and we have to go to a food bank. And inside, I'm thinking to myself, number one, why didn't you call me? Because I've always told him, I says, listen, if you ever need anything, if I have it, it's yours. You're my family. We're supposed to take care of family first. Family, church, community. Worst case scenario, state. Then the worst case scenario, federal government assistance. But I say stop at community. So he skipped, and friends as well. That's community. You know, so he skipped the family part, and went right to the community, right to the food bank. And I was like, why didn't you just give me a call, man, and let me know? Ladies and gentlemen, don't be too proud to ask for help. And here I'm thinking inside while I'm talking to him, I'm like, man, I'm always doing food bank runs. I'm donating to food banks. I do giveaways and stuff like this. And my brother is going to a food bank. Don't be too proud to ask for help. Because if we don't have each other, if we can't depend on each other, then what in the world can we depend on? Do you really want to be beholden to the federal government or the state government? If you have family and you know that they need help, don't wait for them to ask you. If you have the resources, that is. If you don't have the resources, you don't have them. It's just like I told them. I said, if you need help and I have it, then you have it. If I don't have it, then I don't have it. But if you have the resources, ladies and gentlemen, this life is way too short. This life is way too short for you to go throughout life with having every single thing that you need, and then more and more and more, and know that somebody that you know, especially someone that you love, needs help, and for you to not help them, even just a little bit. You cannot take it with you. Right? You cannot take it with you. I've used this example several times, and I'll use it again in case some of you have never heard this. But if you ever see a funeral procession, I think that's how you say it, funeral procession, you know, all the cars and the hearse driving behind, you know, all that stuff. You've never seen, not once, I guarantee you've never seen a U-Haul behind the hearse carrying the person that just passed, because you can't take it with you. And if you need help, don't be too proud to ask. Family, church, community, you have to take care of your own first. And then if you can give to a food bank, give to a food bank. And then if you can give to any other organization that you deem fit, that can do good with those funds, do that. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you to give of your time, your labor, whatever money you've earned. It has to come from inside of you. But this is a message more to those of you that may be in need. Talk to family. Talk to friends if you have to. Talk to your church. Because I guarantee you that there's nobody going to be knocking on your door, checking to see if you need something. Because we're living in pretty tough times. And to finish it off, let me tell you this. By the end of today, my brother, or not today because it's going to take time for him to get it, but by the end of this week or the middle of next week, my brother and his family, their pantry is going to be stacked to the rafters. Having said that, I want to thank every one of you for all of your support. I want to wish every one of you a Merry Christmas. I actually have, I think, like 2 more videos coming out today. And guess what? The videos are pretty much just talking like this. I haven't really even looked at the news. But I wanted to share this with you. Don't be too proud to ask for help. God bless every one of you. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.